So now we're going to do a mustard herb crusted lamb rack with a special balsamic sauce. So we want to bring our lamb up to room temperature, then season both sides. Give it a good generous seasoning. And I've got my pan warming up to high heat, and then we're going to put some oil into that, some avocado oil, and get that nice and hot. So while it's nice and hot, we're going to place the lamb rack in. There we go. Now, once it's in the pan, leave it alone. Let it cook and brown. We're just going to sear off each side before popping it into a 180 degrees oven. So while that's searing off, I'm going to spread some fresh herbs out onto my chopping board. I've got some parsley. Now, the thing I like about getting herbs from my garden is I know exactly where they've come from. So we've got some fresh thyme. Now, with the thyme, you want to make sure that you get stalks out of it because it can get quite woody in your mouth. Spread them out. And then we've got some rosemary. And I've finely chopped up the rosemary so that you're not going to get big chunks of rosemary. And just spread that out to the board. Perfect. So they're made like a little bed of herbs. Now just check on the lamb. We're just going to flip it over. Brown it on all sides. Now you'll see I've parked it up against the side of the pan so that it can sit up and brown on the other side before flipping it right over. Excellent, that's ready to flip. Last side. Now that's ready. So I'm just going to turn that off. And we're going to place our lamb over onto our chopping board. And I've got some Coleman's whole grain mustard. I'm just going to spoon that over and rub that all around. Get a nice good layer on. Don't worry if a little bit falls off. So we just want to cover just one side of it, the side that you're going to be rubbing over through the herbs. And we're just going to roll it through the herbs, the fresh herbs, pushing down, making sure it covers up. Excellent, it's beautifully covered. Now I'm going to take it over to the oven tray. So use your pan and walk it over, and into the oven it goes. Now onto the special balsamic sauce. We're going to turn on the pan and add our balsamic vinegar into the pan so that we can start to reduce it. So don't worry if you make too much sauce because you can store it in an airtight container in the fridge. Now for the Manuka honey. You just want to put a little bit in to start with and then taste it, because if you put in too much you can't take it out. So just let that melt into the balsamic. Now I just really love the Manuka honey and the balsamic because it just brings out the rosemary and the fresh herbs on the lamb, so it's really good. Just before I finish my sauce, I'm going to grab the lamb out of the oven and let it rest. This is looking good now, and if you touch it, you can feel that it's still soft but quite firm, which means we're looking for a medium rare, so it's perfect. So we're just going to let that rest. So a good trick in checking that your balsamic syrup is reduced enough is you get a white plate and just spoon a little bit on. Now you don't want it to be too syrupy because it will leave like a film around your mouth and it'll be quite sticky, but you can check and you can just run it around like this and you'll see how it still moves a bit. It's not overly runny, but it's still moving around your plate. I'm going to add in the fresh herbs, which I've got some mint, and you can just chuck this in whole because we're going to strain this after. Now the reason I've taken it off the heat and I've put the herbs in now is because if you have the heat on while you put the fresh herbs in, you'll burn them and it will become slightly bitter. I can start tasting the mint come through now, so it's just how I like it, and I'm going to strain it. Because you don't want to leave the mint in there for too long because, like I said, you'll start to get a bitter flavour. So if you're going to store some, if you're making a batch, you're going to store some in the fridge, always strain it before you store it. Our lamb's been resting now long enough. You're looking for it to be nice and juicy and pink in the middle because that's what you rest it for. It's looking good. Perfect. Now we just lay it out on the plate. That's looking perfectly cooked. And now for the special sauce. You just want to drizzle that over. And a little bit over the meat. And I know Cherry from the Sanitarium Nutrition Service will give me a big tick for serving this with seasonal vegetables or with a beautiful garden salad. For the recipes featured on tonight's show and the chance to win fabulous prizes, see the Savour section inside this week's Herald on Sunday. Next week I'm going to show you how to make some wasabi stuffed chicken breast and then some poached butterscotch pears in a chili chocolate basket.